Hey, it's Detangler with the Daily Detangler, and I want to talk to you about creating clarity. And I was talking to Clarity, and also Catalyst has been putting out a lot around this idea of how do we get clear. And so I thought it'd be helpful to share what we're discussing and also what we're seeing in the hopes of providing some guidance and also what's working. First of all, there's a understanding piece of getting clarity, and then there's a doing piece of getting clarity, and then there's a way to visualize. All of these help you get clear. We're emphasizing doing and visualizing as the key ingredients because doing the work helps you get clear, so you get clear by doing. And also by putting it into slide format, you make it digestible and concrete for others. To do that, though, you have to understand the situation that you're in. And so let's talk about that first as we look at creating clarity. So what's working? Well, when it comes to understanding, it's not understanding the technical aspects or the aspects of slide building. It's around the situation. What is the situation with the client? What is the situation with our discussions? What's really happening? And understanding that and being curious. Also, the logic or the rationale on what's happening in the situation. Why is this situation unfolding right now in the way that it is at IQVIA? And then what's the goal? What's the goal of understanding? Is it to help you in your understanding, or is it to understand a situation and then help the client move forward? So in other words, are you seeking to understand for your own benefit, or are you seeking to understand to help somebody? And so, for example, if I were to ask you, what do you think about this picture? And then I would say, you might say something like, well, it's cool and all, and it's a neat flower, and you like the contrast between the dry earth and the flower. And then if I were to say, well, get curious about this. Get curious about this slide. There are really two ways you can go. One way is the technical side of why did you pick this slide? Why is it yellow? And it's analysis driven. Why is it laid out this way? Why is it this dimension? Why is it blurry the further you get back? Why is the crack bigger? These are all analysis questions. However, if you went down that path, you'd be missing the point of why I picked this picture in the first place. I picked this picture in the first place because I'm trying to relate why. Look at what's happening in the environment. Look at this environment and ask yourself, why is this flower actually growing? And be curious about the situation of this flower growing in this dry earth and think about that. How would you then get curious about that? And what would you learn? And the more you get curious about, well, how did this seed get here? How did this get enough water? How is it possible to be the only thing growing? And why is it the only thing growing? That type of questioning and that type of curiosity helps us understand the situation. And if you think about it, the more curious you are about why is this flower growing, and the more you explore that, the more you're going to understand perhaps even something like how to grow a garden, because you're going to understand the importance of the flower, the seed, the water, the soil, and what are the conditions in which this thing can thrive. So let me give you another example through a story. I heard a story a long time ago when I was in the Air Force, and we were learning actually about how to help people learn. And the guy was telling me that he had a professor in college, and it was a biology class. And he comes in, think about the huge auditorium because it's a big school. The professor comes in to biology class. He throws a fish on the front of the room and on the lab table up front, and then he leaves. So imagine this if you could, of the idea of you're in a class, it's starting, and all of a sudden the professor walks in, he's got a newspaper wrapped fish, he plops it down and leaves. Now what happens? Well, to be honest with you, 20% of the class just left. The people that were, they're like, I'm out. I need this. I don't understand what this is. This is ridiculous. Once they got over the shock of that happening, they left. very few people knew what to do. There were some that got curious and they thought about, look, what's the situation here? I'm in a class. Um, what's this class about? It's a biology class. Let me get curious about the fish and let me go up here. I'm going to get out of my seat. I'm going to engage. I'm going to go up front and I'm going to learn about the fish. And I'm going to take a look at the fish. And then I'm going to figure out what resources I have to understand this fish. And then come back next week and see what happens. So next week they come back. Not everybody. Second week of class. Professor walks in, goes up front, throws the fish down, and leaves. This happened for 8 weeks in a row. And several people complained to the administration. Several people got their parents involved. Where this professor's not teaching. Seriously, I'm not kidding. And the professor had complaints from all these people squawking about this guy's not even a teacher. But there was a handful of people that said, look, I understand the situation. I understand that I'm going to be curious. I understand what the goal is here. And I'm going to learn about this damn fish. And they became like, they understood the fish. They dissected the fish. They understood the different types of fish. They researched how the fish digestive system worked, the circulatory system. They figured out what type of fish it was. They actually cataloged and figured out that these were different kinds of fish that he was bringing in. Anyway, they figured out fish. And then towards the end of the guy changed it from fish to something else. And then that's it. That's how we taught the entire class. And then there was a final exam. And the question was, tell me about the fish. That was it. That was the final exam. So that's the story here about being curious and understanding. Having that inquisitive approach, getting out of your seat and engaging. And I thought that's a great picture for what we're doing here at IQVIA, and also how we are learning the best by engaging. Another piece of this is learning by doing, and also gaining clarity by doing. You can't teach a person to hang glide in a seminar. We can explain it, but they got to get in the hang glider and they got to take off. Businesses are wired to find what's wrong. Anytime we do something different, we're going to hear it from a large group of people about what we can't be doing, what we shouldn't be doing, that engaging that way is wrong. And you're going to have to be humble, and you're going to have to take those arrows and remember the purpose of what we're doing. And by doing, we can gain empathy. We can put ourselves in other people's shoes. And by engaging by doing, we actually end up with a whole new level of understanding. When we do that, it's important to note that we really, are engaging now, especially this week, with this idea of sharing what we're building. And we really kicked it up a notch on this idea of let's not just talk about it, let's produce something, and we're producing slides. And the interesting thing about that is, I don't know if you've noticed, but I certainly have. There's something different in actually sharing with somebody else. When you say I'm going to share this and I'm going to put myself out there, there's a whole different aspect of why we're doing what we're doing. So there's when you do, here's some ideas on what we're seeing and what we're seeing other people do on the team. Making a slide and sending it, communicating it to somebody. Orchestrating an experience. I've actually tried to orchestrate some experiences on orchestratesales.com. And boy, I got to tell you, it's nerve-wracking to align the process, the people, the technology has been killing us, the information exchange. Have you ever tried to orchestrate something like that? Boy, it's hard, but you sure learn a lot. And then writing it down and sharing it. A lot of these detanglers come from observations that I make and I write down. And I try to do that in real time. So 3 quick steps here. Recognize that the small steps are that you're taking are important. Focus on doing this for somebody else. Taking notes. Why do you take notes? Is it for you or is it for somebody else? Documenting what to do, creating lists. Is it for you or is it for somebody else? Put a lens on that. And shift it to be for somebody else, especially those that are going through the challenges in our customer accounts. And then step 3 is link your doing to a situation. Don't just do for doing's sake. Do it for a situation. And I try to be contextually relevant in these detanglers. And then finally, what's working is visualizing. This guy on the left, he's having a party. He's having a party in his own head, and nobody's invited. Don't be that guy. Don't be the guy who's got a party in his head and nobody's invited. By putting these things down, by taking action and visualizing it and putting it in a slide, you take the party out of your head, you put it down so other people can join the party with you. And by doing that, we're able to make the party better. It's that simple. So be aware if you're alone in your own thoughts. Be aware that confirmation bias is a real thing and fight it. Create opportunities to overcome that confirmation bias by putting it out there. And, don't invite yourself to your party. Make sure you invite other people to the party in your head. And then finally, invite people who maybe you've never would invite before. You're probably comfortable going to one or two people for the same feedback. You've got to break that mold and get outside that circle so that you can break down the bias. So make sure you do that and stop having the party in your head. All right, so what does this have to do with our principles? Well, principle 4 is trust the process. Trust the process of creating. Trust the process by creating clarity, by doing. Trust the process of engaging your team. Trust the process of doing something small every day. And when you do that, you can be heroic and you can get smarter. By getting smarter in this case, what I mean is you get into the flow of the back and forth. The little things every day are faster in time. They're more contextually grounded to what's happening, and they allow for micro adjustments by others. Getting into that cadence and putting things out there, even if you don't hear anything back, helps you clarify your thinking. It also, even regardless of if you hear things back or not, if you're making it digestible and people are looking at it, you're providing an input to them. The more inputs we all share with each other, the more we're injecting our own perspectives, and that makes us smarter. So that's today's Daily Detangler on creating clarity by doing, creating clarity by visualizing. But make sure you're grounded to specific understanding of a situation that's happening, and don't have a party in your head. Make sure you're inviting others. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.